Hey, what's happening, everybody? Welcome to the Art Studio. Today we're continuing our Micro Four Thirds lens reviews. Got in my hands the Leica Nocticron 42.5 1.2, and I've got lots of photographic inspirations pulled up to share with you guys, just like I always do, so stay tuned. So with the launch of the Lumix S and having got one in our hands, we've had several people say, are you guys done with Micro Four Thirds now that you got a full frame Lumix? And the answer is absolutely not. The Micro Four Thirds system has really become a staple at our studio. It is such an incredible camera format for just about anything you want to photograph. Landscapes, people, travel, portraits, weddings. It's really such a capable camera system that we see ourselves continuing in Micro Four Thirds for a long time to come. But make no mistake about it, the full frame Lumix is definitely an awesome camera system. I see this really great in our studio, for some filmmaking, for some weddings, things of that nature. But I think Micro Four Thirds will remain in our studio for a very long time to come. With that said, we're continuing our lens reviews here on our channel and lots of other content related to Micro Four Thirds. And like I mentioned, today I've got the 42.5 Nocticron from Leica. Let's dive into B&H, take a look at it. So it's a Leica lens. We know it's not going to be cheap. It's coming in at $1397.99. And if we look here, it is a full frame equivalent of an 85mm 1.2. I don't see any information here regarding its weather sealing or anything like that, so I'm not 100% sure on the weather sealing with this lens. But I have used it in every situation I can imagine, short of putting it in water, and it has been just fine. If we look at the reviews here, you'll see there are a ton of 5-star reviews. There's only one other review that's a 4-star, so everybody seems to really be on the same page about this being a pretty spectacular and special lens to have in your camera bag, and I 100% agree. Let's dive into the inspirations, take a look at what we've got, and see how we feel about it. Oh, first, let's take a close-up look. So the Nocticron is a heavier lens for Micro Four Thirds than most. On the same token, it's a little bigger too. It's full metal construction, which is kind of nice. If you're used to that Leica lens construction, you will love this. Let's take a look at the side of it. You can turn manual focus on and off here very easily on the lens. I like that because sometimes I'll switch from stills to video. I'm a very hybrid-based type of artist. I do a lot of video and stills. You can turn the optical stabilization on and off on the lens as well. That's a good thing if you're mounting on a tripod and doing work for nature or things like that. You will find, like a lot of the Leica lenses, you can control your aperture from the lens, put it in auto, do it from camera, or with some really solid clicks, go through your different apertures and kind of preset it, which is nice. Let me take the lens hood off, and you'll see it's actually not as big as you'd think. This is a pretty honkin' big lens hood, metal construction as well. It's a threaded lens, so yes, you can add neutral density filters, polarizing filters, all of those good things, which is really nice, especially for those video artists out there. Focus pulls on this are smooth and beautiful for manual focus. So needless to say, this is one of my favorite lenses, to say the least. Let's dive into the inspirations. So I've pulled up, let's see, 34 photographs here to go through, and we'll talk about this lens from a couple different perspectives. Now, I know a lot of people tend to say, I gotta have a full frame camera, I want a full frame camera. I get that. Everybody loves the depth of field of full frame, but I actually am a big fan of Micro Four Thirds because it gives me kind of expanded depth when I want it, yet if I really want to get that full frame look, I put on lenses like this, like the Nocticron, like the 12mm 1.4, and it gives me that tight depth of field that we love. Any tighter of depth of field, we would see the buckle on the shoes in focus, but not the shoe. So it's kind of nice to have that, and this is kind of that fall off in beauty at 1.2 and wedding details. I use this lens constantly in wedding ceremonies because a lot of times we work in big, dark cathedrals, and I love this kind of fine art look that we can achieve with this lens. You can see someone saying a poem up on the altar there, and the bride and groom beautifully out of focus in the foreground. We're at ISO 500, 60th of a second at 1.2 here. Moving forward, I love same type of thing where I'm kind of shooting from the side. I love that in the far distance we can have kind of a painting that's out of focus. We are zooming across some of the floral that's there, and you focus right in on that laughter from the bride and groom. Really beautiful. Really, this lens is about showcasing expressions really, really well. Here we're outdoors on the High Line, little covered area actually, which is incredibly important because it's raining outside. So those dark rainy days, love turning to this lens. Again, focus goes to the couple, beautiful fall off out into the spring leaves in New York City. Same thing here, same couple. We're over an overhang, it's raining outside, and we're getting like this beautiful window light effect kind of coming through. And on the High Line, beautiful place to photograph and walk along with couples. Capture some beautiful moments. I love this lens during the ceremony, especially at our Jewish weddings when they stomp the glass there. Again, leading the viewer's attention right to the emotion and the impact of the image, and the 42.5 just does that so well. So I turn to that often. Dark cathedral once again. Here the couple is recessing out of the ceremony, celebrating with guests. And I will turn to this lens a lot in these situations. I'm at ISO 800, 100th of a second at 1.2. Believe it or not, this is on a tiny little GX85. So the lens is bigger than the camera, but I'll throw a secondary camera on my hip sometimes that I'll go to for just some catch shots. It's incredibly fast at autofocus. It's full-blown Micro Four Thirds, 5-axis stabilized. Put this on it and you can shoot just about anywhere. And I love the flare that this lens gives us. You'll see that in some more examples when we're working with light. Wedding reception at the Pierre Hotel, just to give you an example of details and how well it captures them. Really sharp, really beautiful. And so we will turn to this for details sometimes. Same couple, their first dance. At the end, he gave her a really beautiful kiss here on the dance floor. Again, at the Pierre Hotel in New York City. And again, I just love how it focuses in on the couple, where the emotion is. We want to lead the viewer's attention where we want them to look. This lens is very impactful for doing that. During kind of a break in the evening, we get past the first dance, we get past the toast, and most couples will start greeting tables. And sometimes they're in a brighter part of the room, other times they're way in a dark corner of the room, as you see here. I'm still firing the strobes from the far distance. You can see it filling the room, rim lighting his shoulders. I love off-camera flash because of that, because we're in a room that's just kind of flat in terms of the lighting. If we can rim light things, it really works well. They're in the shadow side of the lighting. But what we're doing here, I'm at I'm at ISO 1600 at 1.2. I'll use my ISO in those situations to capture the darker corners of the room, and that's what we're doing. When we're on the dance floor, we're probably ISO 400. When we're in the depths of the room, we just adjust down that ISO, still fire the flashes, give us the rim light wherever we go. This is a beautiful lens in toast, again, just because we want to hone in on the expressions and emotions of the moment. But it's also cool because I'll turn and get guest reaction. I don't always just want to capture the action. What are the reaction? What is a sister feeling in this moment? What is a father and mother feeling in this moment? So it's kind of cool. We can turn and capture all different things. This lens is magical in that moment. This is our photography studio in Connecticut, and I'll turn to this for portraits all the time. I do these really giant expressionist paintings like the one behind me here, and I'll hang them in the studio, kind of like a gallery style of setting. And it's cool because I'll light them with LED lights, and then what I'll do is I'll light our subjects with a tungsten light. But I love how, my paintings tend to be very bold and busy and colorful. What it does when we blur it off, it just becomes something in the distance that's kind of colorful and creative. And I love, again, that glow that this gives with incandescent lighting like you see in the chandelier there. So this is an executive portrait. This is actually taken at the Palace Hotel in a hotel room in New York City where we were doing some cool executive portraits. And After hair and makeup was done, I'm like, you know, this room is actually kind of interesting. We've got good window light. Let's use it. Kind of offsetting the window light with the lamp in the distance. Control the lighting on the lamps. Check the different brightnesses and try to balance the light on the face with the lamp in the distance. And, you know, that's how I think about things. Keep that balance of lighting. But here, what it's doing is it's forcing us to look at the subject. Everything else is secondary. Really, it doesn't matter what background you have when this lens is on, because we're going to focus on the emotion, focus on the subject at hand. Another great example of lighting pouring through a window, I'll shoot this lens in particular into windows a lot, let it flare, just a groom's tuxedo kind of hanging on a hanger there, but I just loved the flare of that angle. And if I'm out in a park, for instance, a lot of times, you know, we're told keep the sun behind us, right, as a photographer. No, do the opposite. Let the sun be in front of you and shoot into it. Get low so you get a beautiful flare into the lens. This lens is buttery for lens flare. This is a wedding in Los Angeles at the Biltmore Millennium, just kind of showcasing from above how detailed and sharp this lens is for details. Really works out well. And what I'll do is I'll put like a strobe in the balcony, like a Profoto strobe, to fill the room with light. But then what that allows me to do is go from the balcony down to the down area where all the details are, and I can focus in on the cake. Notice how when we do that, the fall off takes you away or right into the cake, but you don't really focus on anything else. That's one of the beauties of 1.2. And not all of our weddings are over the top, lavish in terms of floral. But every wedding is equally as beautiful because we'll photograph details with this lens. Small floral and candlelight are just as elegant. This showcases it in a wonderful way. Celebrity party planner David Tutera's wedding. This is in Los Angeles at the Biltmore Millennium. And this is just a beautiful moment, kind of a catch moment of him and his mom after their dance together were walking off away. And I just love their expression, so genuine and beautiful. And I love how the depth of field with this lens separates the subject from background. The background is obviously present. You see the elegance of it, but really brings you into their moment. This is in our studio in Connecticut as well. We have kind of some French doors that give us north light in the studio. This is a wall that I painted with Ralph Lauren paint. It kind of has like a blue jean kind of effect to it. And it's a really pretty spot, and I just loved his expression here. But so no strobes or anything else going off here. We put a cake down, wanted him to go to town. He wasn't sure what to do with it, made him nervous. He started crying, and I love that expression. Later on in the session, he warmed up to it and started having fun, laughing, playing. But this was the moment. This was the expression that just said it all. He's maybe a foot from that wall. But do you see how, again, it focuses you in on him, that incredible expression? Background is just a secondary thing. This is a shoot in Verona, Italy at Pasqua Wines, a beautiful vineyard, and it's a really dark barrel room. But they had set up an elegant table because sometimes they'll do parties in there. And so what we're doing is we're lighting it with strobe on the other side of the barrels, but we're using the barrels as kind of a leading line to lead you in where the subject is. This lens just helps that even that much more. In Verona as well, same subject. We are up at a mansion up in the mountains, or hills I should say, and you can see again kind of that separation from the subject to the background. Really pretty for fashion photography. We mentioned the cake earlier. You ever notice when you go to a wedding, sometimes the wedding facility will put the cake in a genius place where you can use it. Other times they'll place it in the ugliest corner of the room and there's all sorts of distracting things behind it. That's where this lens really shines. You want to avoid distracting things or busy backgrounds. Use this lens. Just focus in on the cake. Everything else just falls off into some buttery beautifulness. This is a wedding I was photographing, and it was actually, we're in the middle of one of the toasts. And I looked down at a glance and saw that they were wearing Chucks, and I did not realize they had changed shoes. And I'm like, that's awesome. So in the moment, I switched over from probably ISO 400 to ISO 2000. That's where a 1.2 opens up. We're opened up all the way to 1.4 actually, but just, you can take those little things that you see in dark spaces on the fly in the moment. use it to your advantage, and that's where a really fast wide lens shines. Really pretty shot at one of our favorite couples and clients' home down in New Jersey. They had a newborn baby. We went down to their home to photograph the baby and siblings and family. And you know, when we have newborns, we don't want to use flash and have flashes going off left and right. So we keep it really soft and beautiful. This is just window light pouring into their bedroom. They're right on their bed there. This lens is just such a go-to when you're working with natural light. I think I brought in a little Dracast LED panel just to give a little kick of light. If they look to the camera, a little catch light in the eye, but that's subtle and simple. And look at the fall off. Doesn't matter if we're in a bedroom, whatever's going on around, it really focuses you in on their emotion. This is such a beautiful family. We photograph them all the time, and this was their holiday session at their home in Fairfield, Connecticut, and this is in their parents' bedroom. They have a little fireplace there, but really pretty, and it just shows you how this lens is really great when you go to a client's home. You can use it creatively in so many ways. Just hone in on their expressions, their beautiful smiles. We decorate our studio every year over the top, and in fact, come holiday season, we don't wait for the phone to ring because our phone rings off the hook. What we do ahead of time is we reach out to our clients and couples that we've worked with year after year and say, do you want to get this done? You need to get on our schedule now because it fills up so fast. There's only me and my wife and only so many assignments we can handle. So we want to cater to those who have utilized our services year after year. And our schedule generally fills up and we can fit a couple more new people, but that's about it. So we decorate our home over the top in so many locations. This is actually in the studio section of the home. And Jennifer had wired up a bunch of Christmas tree lights there on a wall, had a little tree and having him decorate it. But look at the bokeh of this lens. Big, beautiful, round bokeh that this gives. And it's so wide open in terms of light that we're just using the light that's coming through that north light doorway that's pretty far in the distance and the Christmas tree light, and keeping it really simple, but the fall off is so pretty. One more example in the studio where what I'll do is I'll put my paintings in the distance, I was saying, and use colored lighting. And then I'll bring in an incandescent light here. This is actually a Profoto light with the soft white beauty disc, just using the modeling lamp instead of firing the strobe. And you can see we get this dramatic lighting. The fall off is pretty. We can light one painting red, one blue, and you know, we use actually DJ lighting for that, which works really well. Some receptions you go to, and you focus on the floral because there's so much of it. Others we go to and you start to notice things. Like in this particular location, there are vents in the ceiling, ceiling fans, lighting, sprinkler system, all sorts of things going on. That's where this lens shines. I can get low, even aim up and capture these kind of moments of, say, a parent dance like we see here. But the fall off, you don't pay so much attention to what's in the ceiling when you use a lens like this because the moment is what matters, and we are focused in on the moment instead. So it's being thoughtful about looking around you. Same location here, and Jennifer loves this lens because a lot of times I'll work with strobe, give that really bright, beautiful skin tone, and then she'll do the opposite. She'll work in completely ambient light, and look at the candlelight glow this gives. She's at ISO 640, 1.2 at actually a 20th of a second. That 5-axis dual image stabilization Lumix is known for in their Micro Four Thirds cameras is just unstoppable. This is actually a session in New Jersey at a place called Glen Allen Castle, and this is the owner of the castle. It's a remarkable space. And this is the 3rd floor. She has a vintage clothing loft with all sorts of really high-end vintage clothing. And we did a photo shoot with her, changing clothes a whole lot, and really cool session. But this is one of those moments where I'm actually using strobe. One of the beauty of the Profoto B1 systems, you can turn that strobe almost down to nothing. And I just have a soft white beauty dish. That's the only light source. But here, yeah, I'm at 1.2 ISO 640, but using strobe. And so we get this glow to the room. The ambiance of the room tends to fall on her skin tone because of how wide this lens opens up. So strobe and incandescent light kind of work together that way when you can open up that wide. Really pretty moment. This is also holidays in Connecticut. One of the local parks will light up the entire park with all sorts of creative things. And here I'm not even using any kind of light source other than what's available. And there was a Christmas tree on this side that had a bunch of white light. And so that's all we're using, and just letting the colored lights fall off into the distance. Same thing here with her puppy. She had wanted a puppy for so long, so this was such a beautiful shoot to do. And you can see we're past dusk. We're starting to see stars in the sky at this point. And working with this lens is incredible. ISO 2000, but opened up to 1.2 at a 60th of a second. Such a great way to work. One last shot in our studio in Connecticut. This is our living room. Again, we decorate every room in the house. But again, just showing you how even in a living room, this lens just hones you in on those beautiful little ones and those beautiful expressions, and allows the background to be what it is. And so decorate for the sides of the room and how you work. Just come to the center and play with this lens, and the magic will be there for you. So that's the 42.5 1.2 Nocticron. I actually have done a lens review with this before, except what I did in the last one was I compared the Nocticron 1.2 Leica to the Lumix branded 1.7 42.5. I will put a link to that video so you can compare the two, but I didn't want to not do this too and share some inspirations with this lens, because it's kind of cool to see the thought process behind what a photographer is thinking and get to see some examples with that lens as well. We're going to continue over the next few weeks still talking about some Micro Four Thirds things here and there. We will have lots of stuff coming out with the Lumix S1. I just did this crazy, remarkable shoot this week in a new reception facility with all sorts of crazy lighting and cool dresses. Excited to share that off the S1. And we're going to be doing a little bit of traveling, so we're not sure what our posting schedule is going to be like over the next few weeks. We're going to try to get as much shared with you guys as possible on our YouTube channel. But most certainly, as we're out and traveling, we'll be creating content, vlogging, and all of that stuff, so that we get back, we can share what we have figured out more about the Lumix S and how we're utilizing the Micro Four Thirds system as well. Both camera systems are great. I think it comes down to what is the best camera system for the job for us, because I can see where this is going to shine. I already know where Micro Four Thirds is going to shine because we've been using it for so long and have fallen in love with it. But with that said, we appreciate you, everybody. Subscribe if you would, and let us know if there's anything that we can do to help you guys get an understanding of this, and what would you like to see us do here in the studio and beyond to educate and share, because that's what we're aiming to do. So thank you guys. Have a great one. Take care.